Refugee journeys are inevitably class experiences. However, very little attention has been paid to class as a way to understand forced migration. In this video, we show two specific ways in which class intersects with other power relations to impact refugee selection and sponsorship in Canada. What is class? As a concept, class describes a system of stratification most commonly based on income, status, and education. Class can also be conceptualized as processes of producing, appropriating, and distributing capital and labor. Class intersects with gender, sexual orientation, age, religion, race, disability, etc. to determine different degrees of oppression and privilege associated with a person or group's social identity and location. Why is class important in forced migration? Generally, individuals evaluate their access to financial and social resources when choosing to migrate because moving comes with cost. Access to different forms of capital, economic, social, and cultural, shapes how people move and their circumstances in a new social environment. In this way, all refugee journeys are class experiences. Class-based integration, which is the allocation of rights or outcomes in the labor market, education, housing, and sense of belonging based on economic resources, is not a uniform experience. In refugee studies, analysis of class helps to consider how social identities shape inherently unequal and unruly patterns of mobility. We will now turn to two examples of how class operates in Canadian refugee policy: selection of refugees and the private sponsorship of refugee PSR program. Role of class in refugee admission to Canada. First, while refugees have historically been selected on humanitarian grounds for admission to Canada, recent programs have emphasized their skills and human capital. For example, the Economic Mobility Pathways pilot, launched in 2018, prioritizes refugees who have in-demand skills identified by provincial governments or private employers. According to the Canadian government, this initiative aims to combine refugee resettlement and economic immigration. The blurring of humanitarian and labor market objectives raises a larger question about the commodification of refugee admission. A second example of the way class operates in Canadian refugee policy and programming relates to the private sponsorship of refugee PSR program. As the name suggests, private groups of individuals can sponsor refugees to come to Canada as permanent residents. Here again, class is an important determinant of the eligibility of sponsors to participate in the PSR program. The financial capacity of a group of 5 to sponsor a refugee is assessed by reviewing their family size, employment history, and tax returns. Beyond income support, private groups of 5 sponsors must also draw on their social and cultural capital to demonstrate their capacity to settle refugees. The class identities of private sponsors, language ability, level of education, and breadth of social networks play a significant role in the success of sponsorship applications and shape the integration outcomes of sponsored refugees. In summary, class plays an integral role in shaping the social identities and positions of different groups of migrants. There is a limited understanding of class identities and its implications in forced migration. In this video, we showed how skills used as a proxy for class are becoming increasingly important in refugee selection, including new pathways to select refugees based on their anticipated contributions to the Canadian economy and society. Class is also invoked in complex ways in private sponsorship of refugees (PSR) program. These are just two examples of how refugee experiences and outcomes are classed. We need more research and advocacy on the significance of class in forced migration studies and on the lived experiences of refugees and refugee claimants.